So my topic is called What is CCA? And I don't have any slides because when I was talking with Dan, especially at the last summit in Arizona, the implication was we need to play our own game here. And first and foremost, I'm a copywriter, so I write, which means that everybody here and everybody watching can read my presentation instead of listening to me talk about it. So.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I am actually gonna present it out loud, and the irony is I was always planning on reading it out loud, and I was planning on sending it out afterward, but after Alan and Jeff, both on the ride to lunch, said that when they're reading my stuff on the internet, they can hear me talking it through, that's actually how I write. So as I am speaking to you, that's what I'm trying to convey, and that's what I try to teach. That's what I try to do with advertising, because writing is essentially communication. And it's easier to talk to people than it is to figure out how to translate things on paper or in presentation. So I'm going to present this to you. You can read along if you want to, or you can read it later, but hopefully this doesn't give anybody an aneurysm. But what is CCA? When Dan first brought up the idea of presenting about CCA in order to graduate, I felt like I had an easy answer. I just teach people how to use CCA principles and invert them to mind control people and keep them compliant and easy to manipulate. After all, I'm a copywriter, and it would have been funny to show people the dark side of the force. You know, the inversion of all of this smart way of thinking so that you can get people to do what you want. But after I thought about it for a while, I realized two things. Number one, I didn't want to do that. And number two, that wasn't really playing my game. Because I'm good at persuasion, it's my job, but what I'm really, really good at is explaining. So, as a man, let me explain what we're going to talk about today. And something that you probably already know, but as we'll see here, that might be a little different for everybody. What is CCA? This is the question that I asked Dan and Nick before they'd launched the first cohort. I was asking them to explain it to me. It was the question that I asked towards the end of the first cohort, and they were debating doing it again, you know, trying to figure out what the structure was, all that kind of stuff, playing it, micro-stepping it. It's the question I asked Dan when I was writing for his website, and it was the question I asked Nick when he was prepping his newest book. What is CCA? And I got a different answer every single time. It's kind of like when we were at the 3C event. So what is this? And what if I asked you all, everybody here and everybody watching at home? Since this is my 7 minutes, I won't call on anyone, but my assumption is that I'd get as many different answers as there are people in the room and watching on YouTube. When I was helping with the copy on Dan's website, I wondered what the prospective clientele, what the prospective CCA joiner would define CCA, having never been through it and having just tried to discover what it is organically. Very different answers to the exact same question. What is CCA? So how do you define something that the founders can't define, the members can't define, and the people thinking about joining can't define? Well, you give the problem to a copywriter fact finder with ADD and a potent combo of people-pleasing and perfectionism. So without further ado, here's what I got. And if you're reading this, you can actually see the only visual that I included in this instead of the words. CCA is 4 different things, and I put them in a quadrant. We all know Nick likes quadrants. This is me being a sycophant. The first quadrant of the CCA is an operating system. Like a computer, an operating system is a series of instructions about how to do things. the computer must comply with the operating system, and there are lots of different kinds of operating systems. CCA is an operating system. Just like the computer that's working with one operating system already, you need to wipe the computer and reinstall the new operating system. Otherwise, the two conflict and things break. You're probably operating with the OS that you were given at birth. And if you're a growth-minded person, there's probably some software that is conflicting with the older stuff. You can't run trauma.exe and growth.exe without, at the same time, because it throws an error and you end up in the blue screen of a bowl of ice cream. So CCA will show you the kindest but clearest way of operating with a system that progresses your goals with the least risk, least effort, and most amount of options possible. So that's the first component of the CCA. Second component of the CCA are mental models. Mental models are personal, internal representations of external reality that people use to interact with the world around them. They're constructed by individuals based off their unique life experiences, perceptions, and understandings of the world. CCA is a series of mental models that suggest an alternative frame of the world, one based on probability, risk tolerance, real-world information, contact with reality, and systems that prevent errors that are common in cognitive bias, which is what's operating for most of us. It basically turns an irrational monkey into a self-aware irrational monkey. You're never going to be the monkey. You're never going to not be the monkey. You just now know that you need to guide the monkey away from the cliffs, the predators, and the poison berries. Things like play your game, pick a shoulder and attack, close the gap. All of these things will trigger better thinking in an instant once you understand what they mean. And the nice thing is, they mean exactly what they need to mean for you in your unique situation. You're not trying to fit somebody else's opinion of reality into your own. The third thing that CCA is a community. This comes as no surprise to anybody sitting in the room and most likely anybody watching who is part of CCA right now, but to those watching in the future who are not yet, CCA is a group of people. We're all here for our own individual reasons, but we have built a community, and we're all kind of weird, but in the good weird kind of way. I mean, there's some bad weird, but we also are experts in our field, business owners, PhDs, psychologists, world-class CFOs, world-class educators, advisors to Bill Gates. We are all striving to live a life aligned with our values. And there's a saying that you're the average of the 5 people closest to you, attributed to Jim Rohn, the motivational speaker. Turns out that's not actually true. I linked an article in the document that you guys can read at your leisure. It's longer than my presentation, but turns out, here's the cliff notes. Turns out we're the cumulative average of our entire network and their entire network and their entire network. 3 networks removed still has a tangible, statistical impact on your individual life. Some of the examples that were in the article that I'm not going to read to you are, if your friend gains weight, you're 20 to 30% more likely to gain weight. If their friend that you do not know gains weight, you are 15 to 20% more likely to gain weight. It continues down the line to that third order effect. Same thing with smoking, and same thing with happiness. If a friend of a friend is much happier, you get about a 6% bump in your happiness, which doesn't sound like much until you realize that getting a $10,000 raise at work bumps your happiness by about 2%. So, network, network, network. CCA is a community. And the other nice thing is everyone in the community, hold on, I skipped through here. This brings me to the last part. That's what the nice thing is about community. The last part is commitment. unless I've missed the after party invitation or anything, we're not going to be doing any branding here, right? We're not going to be like Nixium. Everybody watch that documentary? I'm not doing that, right? We're not getting matching tattoos yet, okay? But everyone in this community is committed to the same thing. So we all want to get closer to the things that matter to us. We want to make less mistakes on the way and be more purposeful in the world. It is a collective commitment to our individual purpose and collective support of other people's individual goals. People don't half-ass CCA, they whole-ass it. But that's 4 things, and I wanted one definition. One that makes sense to those who know and is intriguing enough to those who are still learning. And I wanted it to sound cool. So here's what I got, and hopefully this will stick better than fetch. CCA is the truth behind your truth. It's the math behind dreams. It's the system behind goals. It's the force behind purpose. CCA guides us to whatever truly matters to us and then enables us to get it with less time, less effort, and more options. It doesn't ask us all to believe the same thing. It just asks us to believe that there is a way to play your game while getting what you want. So when someone asks you, what is CCA? Look at them in the eyes, smile, and say, it's the truth behind your truth. And then blink really fast, and then shake your head and go, it's not a cult. And then laugh to make sure they aren't scared. But laugh normal, not like that. That's what CCA is.